what's something people can do to like stay healthy and prevent injury, like both in fitness and in life, is lift heavy weights. Like literally it is the best thing for you.
You are a physical therapist. You have your own practice literally within the walls of our CrossFit gym. Is that a common setup? And then just how did you get that?
I went through PT school at UK, did sports residency at UK. That was kind of like dream scenario for me. Was really hoping initially that I was going to stay on and work at UK sports medicine. That was kind of like the big goal as a physical therapist. It's a prestigious residency. So I was super pumped to get there. And then I got, working in the practice and just was kind of disappointed with a couple things. Basically the limitations that insurance puts on us as physical therapists is just kind of brutal. I joined CrossFit during residency and I was actually mobile at the time in my business. So I was just in the business as really a side hobby to allow me to treat people how I wanted. A couple months went by, I was driving all over the place in my practice, and then my residency was about to end. And I was like, I went up to KJ and I was just like, I know nobody's really using it. It was a childcare room at the time. So I was like, look, I'll pay rent, help y'all make a little extra money. And I think it would be a great thing to offer your members, right? Like, especially when somebody first walks in and they're like, they've heard CrossFit, you get hurt, all those things. Like, we have a physical therapist in-house that can help you stay healthy. So that's how it started. But no, I would say that's not common in the PT world, but it's becoming more common. So especially people who are doing based practices like I am, we're all just kind of looking for somewhere where you can have a little bit of overhead. You already have your equipment, like everything's kind of there for you. So it just makes a lot of sense. And people use the service that are in the gym.
You were talking about how back when you were doing your residency at UK, that is a prestigious program. Is that like primarily because of the basketball program and their SEC schools? Is that why it's such a prestigious place to do a PT residency?
Yeah, so there's only a limited amount of sports physical therapy residencies in the country. And UK happens to be the highest paying one. So it's just competitive in that nature by itself.
I see.
So resident PT, you're taking a pretty significant pay cut, and UK actually gets you pretty close to a starting salary. And then, the athletics program, the mentors that are there are highly credentialed physical therapists. I thankfully had an athletic training background at UK as well. So I worked for the football team, baseball team, and men's soccer team during my undergrad years. So that was a big leg up. Like I already kind of knew how the athletic programs rolled, knew people there. So just kind of a way to get in.
Are the athletes there, do they take it pretty seriously? Because they're like, look, I need to get to that next, because I'm trying to get to that professional level. So I imagine they're pretty good PT patients, which is maybe not always true in the general population.
Yes, that is very true. When you get those athletes, they're there for business, and like they, especially now with the NIL and everything.
Literally there for business. Yeah. Like you're not just working on someone who could make millions of dollars. You're working on someone who is, so don't mess it up.
It's definitely become bigger since I graduated. So it became year after. So it was kind of like, things were going on beforehand that were more under the table. But those guys that come in that, are going to go pro, and you understand that coming in, and there's definitely a different kind of mindset going into that. And there's other people involved, right? Like they've got people in their corner, they've got their agents, like you're kind of under the scope a little bit. So you got to be on it when you are treating those type of people.
How often are you stumped? I wonder, like, is it basically like, well, basically there's 10 things that go wrong for a football player. He breaks this, he breaks that. This, But are there times where you're like, I don't know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a job where you are learning on the fly. I mean, they can only cover so much in school. And I think you had one of them too, where it was just like, oh, this is kind of like a weird injury. Like,
it was weird.
See often. And so you are kind of learning. And I think I explained this to you a little bit when we were working together, like movement is medicine for people. So when someone's not active, a little bit of movement and like general exercise goes a long way for them. When someone is super active, they already have that kind of threshold, right? So then you got to be more accurate, and you got to know exactly what you're doing to get those people better, which is why, cash pay PT is better than generic for active people, because when you go to a generic place, they're going to give you, as soon as you tell me you have knee pain, they're going to print out the 5 basic exercises that fixes maybe 50 to 60% of knee pain and hope that it works for you. A month later, they're going to check in and be like, oh, is this working? Not working. Okay. Do we need to change things? Then they're going to give you the next thing. And it's just kind of like, versus when you work with me, like we're together the whole time. I'm constantly asking questions, getting feedback from you, like figuring out, is what I'm doing right? Like I should know within 2 or 3 visits if you're getting better or not.
Yeah. I want to back up and like really linger on this point, because I think it's interesting. So the way I think of you is you have a critique of the way that contemporary in America physical therapy tends to go down. because of the way that it's inextricably tied to health insurance.
When you are treating somebody based on insurance, you have a few limitations. The first being that whatever body part you went to your doctor and got your script for, that's what I have to work on. And if I'm trying to,
That's so crazy.
it's nuts, especially when you're talking about people who are like CrossFitters or runners or anything,
Right.
full bodied movement activities. Just because your pain is somewhere doesn't mean that's the problem, right? Like a lot of times that's actually what's working really well and it's just working overtime.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out like what the actual root cause is or why this is happening and address that. Yeah, we're going to take care of the tissue that's angry, but we need to fix the why behind it's happening, or else when you go back to your activity, it's going to come back. And then those people are like, oh, physical therapy didn't work. Like, well, no, it would work, but it wasn't done correctly. And so that's the first thing. And then two, you put on top of that, like, even if I did want to work on, let's say your ankle mobility when you're having hip pain, I don't necessarily have the time to figure out that's your problem, because not only am I seeing you, I've got 2 other people within the same hour that I'm trying to juggle. Really, I only have time for 10 minutes of hands-on work with each of you and maybe a little chat to see how things are going. And then you're off to working with technician or someone who doesn't exactly know your story, right? It's not that those people, it's not their fault. Just the way the system's set up is that insurance reimbursements are so low that physical therapists have to see several patients an hour in order to make money.
Yeah, it's a volume game. Yeah.
Exactly. So it turns into that, like, just churn and burn. We're going to throw these basic exercises at you, the same ones you could literally Google, and hope that it works. And those things do work. There's some merit. I'm doing a lot of those things as well. But that's kind of like the beginning steps that then need to have things followed up that they can't necessarily do. I don't need an hour with every single patient, but when I need that hour, I need that hour.
Is there antagonism between PTs who are still stuck in the traditional system and people who, like you, who have, gone outside it?
Yeah. I think that there is some of that. I think that everybody gets into physical therapy because we want to help people.
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of like at the root cause of it. And then when you start talking about the financial side of things, now not everybody can afford that. And I'm very aware of that. And that is part of it, like what I don't love about it. But the trade-off is that I can at least help people that do need the help. And yes, they can't afford it. I can't necessarily help everybody, but at least I'm going to get those people truly better, and they need it too, right?
Yeah.
And there are places that people can go that don't necessarily have the financial means to afford, concierge medicine, and that's great. But there's definitely some of that kind of like, oh, you decided that you're too good to help everybody, some of that feelings. And I think honestly, if you injected everybody with truth serum, there's not many people who wouldn't want to make more money doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
It's just there's some of it where you have to be able to grind and put the effort in to get those businesses started. And that's honestly the hard part. And it's a big leap of faith. I was leaving a salaried position to go make who knows what, right? And it's worked out great, like better than I ever honestly imagined it would. But yes, I would say that there probably is some of that feeling with some people of like, oh, we moved away from our root cause and our purpose as healthcare providers.
I don't know. I think a lot of that is just veiled envy because you've taken the risk and gone to the other side. For me, like, I think it's so obvious that, like, wouldn't it be better if we could do healthcare abstracted away from big insurance companies? Like, I don't know anyone aside from I understand things are more expensive. I just can't imagine someone be like, no, we really need insurance to be in this office as well. And let's get their perspective on this.
I think there is a bit of the veiled envy. There is a bit of, I think the insurance companies honestly have made things more expensive for people who use insurance a lot of the time. Like if you're healthy and haven't hit your deductible, you're going to pay just as much, if not more, to go get a worse quality of care at physical somewhere else. But they're not going to tell you the price, right? They're just going to send you a bill monthly.
Right. Yeah. Do you think there's inertia building towards more of a model like yours, and is that becoming more common?
Big time. And as reimbursement rates continue to go down, you're going to see more and more places pop up like me. And so the traditional places are going to go, they're going to work on your post-ops, which is great, right? Like there are people who need that kind of lower level physical therapy for when you have surgery. And they're going to take older people on Medicaid and Medicare because there's still some legality stuff with, we can't do cash pay with some of those people, which is a whole nother fall, another hair. But there will be, I think active people are going to be phased out of physical therapy. And you're not actually making the physical therapist clinic much money anyway. Those reimbursement rates are low. And again, it's a negative feedback cycle, right? Because insurance cuts the reimbursement rate. Now the physical therapy clinic has to see 3 of you an hour. So of course you guys aren't going to get better. They know that. So then they're going to say, oh, physical therapy is not working. We're going to cut rates. Why would we reimburse with somebody who's not getting better? So then the cycle continues. Right now, I have to see
Yeah.
4 patients an hour. So
Ugh.
it's going to get phased out. And that's probably a good thing for the common consumer, right? Because the more of me that there are, my prices probably have to come down to be more competitive, right? Like it's scarce right now, and schedule is full. So it doesn't really make sense for me to lower prices to get
Sure.
more people until there's more people doing it, right? And then I got to be more competitive. But there's also something to be said for, like, in order for me to pay my other therapists well, they're only seeing, 20, 25 patients a week. In order for me to pay them well, I also have to charge a lot, right? So I can pay them enough money to make a full-time salary when they're doing 25 hours of work. So
Yeah.
that's part of it too. I think a lot of people think of it as like, oh, that's greedy or selfish, charging a lot of money. But like when you see the back end stuff, you don't see those hidden costs and those things that I'm paying for on the back end.
Yeah.
It's not like that money's all going in my pocket and I'm just writing off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So we talked a little bit about the method or the therapy portion of it, but the business part of it too. You were just driving yourself around with your own stuff. You were mobile, but now you have a brick and mortar shop and you have staff. Talk a little bit about like growing and having to find people. I have to imagine that you're like, oh, I've never really thought about this. And how did you do that?
Yeah. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be hiring anybody.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And so once it got to a point where I was kind of getting overwhelmed with how many patients a week I was seeing, and it was really, I can feel when I get to that point in my day, and especially because we're one-on-one for an hour with each person,
It's
like
intense.
it's a
Yeah.
social day, right? Like I'm talking to people all day long, and I like that. It gives me energy, but there's also a cap. And in order for me to have some of that left over for my family, like seeing more than 6 patients a day, I'm like, whew, like running on empty, right? Where a normal PT is seeing 15 to 20 people a day and having to fill out all that work.
Yeah.
But anyway, not the point of that. So looking for someone to hire, I wanted all of the people who worked with me to have some kind of active background. I want them to be people who get it, who are just like me and you, that are like pushing themselves in the gym, being active. We get banged up, and that's the best teacher, right? Like rehabbing myself is how I've learned to treat a lot of injuries.
Oh, that's interesting.
So looking for people who have that mindset, you obviously have to be very personable. And then on top of that, we're not told how to do sales, right? Like that's not what we're in school for.
Right. Yeah.
Like, people usually feel kind of icky about doing it and asking for money for something.
Right.
Like, so not only are my PTs having to like learn how to be PTs because I like Becca, I hired her straight out of school and she's been awesome, but she's having to learn how to be a PT and how to do sales at the same time, in an environment she has no training in. So like that was a thing. And her being a CrossFit coach was huge. That was like when someone first told me about her and I knew she was graduating, I just like called her one day and I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to be looking to hire somebody. Is this something you're interested in? She said, yeah. So I just brought her in the clinic to like shadow me and just kind of taught her as I went along for the job straight out of school. And it's taken off, but we're in the phase now where I'm starting to look for a third person.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's going to be a whole nother adventure and
Good
trying to figure
problems
out
to
shared space. Yeah, exactly. Them are good problems.
You talked about how you sort of trained yourself on your own injuries from CrossFit. Maybe you could talk about like some specifics. And then I'm just curious, like, what are the most common injuries CrossFitters are coming in to you for?
Yeah. This is a big topic. So I've had a couple, I've never been like really banged up from CrossFit, thankfully. Aches and pains, grip stuff I think is big and something that's probably not thought about very much, like forearm muscles, elbows, as you know. And really irritate a ton of stuff we do is super grippy. Shoulders are big. I think there are a lot of things going on with shoulders that create this problem, and kind of some low-hanging fruit that people can be doing to take care of themselves better that we can get into. Shoulders are big. In the running community, you see a ton of like foot pain, ankle pain, heel pain. There's a whole great thing with shoes going on right now. That's another topic that we can get into if you want to. There's a lot of things that are kind of the common, we're always going to see a ton of back pain. That's the number one thing that physical therapists treat, like in the country. Yeah, which is a big one. And then you get into the whole, so I do want to touch on this too, is like the research with CrossFit and kind of the stigma that it has in the medical community and just in the world, frankly. Like people are like, oh, you do CrossFit, like, they give you that, like, oh, you must be like a gym hardo and you get hurt all the time. CrossFit actually has a very similar and lower injury rate than a lot of like normal working out, which is
how do you measure? How is injury rate measured? Is there a standard? Definition?
Yeah. So there are studies being done, like particularly by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. They are just getting, they're interviewing people or sending people questionnaires like, what do you do? How often do you do it? is there an injury that's kept you out like more than a week or limited your performance? Would be a good way to kind of think about it. Is there something that's slowing you down or making you take a break, or something that you're going to go to it's like seek help for? Because we all have those things, that aren't necessarily injuries but hurt, and that's just a cost of doing what we do, right? No matter what you do, things are going to hurt, so you might as well be doing what you enjoy, in my opinion. But that's kind of how they're getting those numbers, and the incidence rate in CrossFit is lower than like running, for example. Running is actually the highest, and some of the people that I see that are beat up the most. So that's kind of a fun thing to talk about too.
It's kind of like flying is actually less dangerous than driving, but which is surprising.
It has the stigma, right? You don't hear about the car crashes, you hear about the flights. Yeah. So CrossFit is great. And honestly, I think it's fantastic. This is kind of, I think, one of the questions you had written about too. We can kind of dive into the way that CrossFit trains and like how to train well and stay healthy and avoid injuries. A couple things. CrossFit's variability is fantastic. Right, that we're always working different aerobic systems, different type of muscle fibers. We do explosive movements, we do heavy movements, we do all kinds of stuff. I think that there's not a mix of that in just about anything else, at least to that level. And you had written like, okay, what's something people can do to like stay healthy and prevent injury, like both in fitness and in life, is lift heavy weights. Like literally it is the best thing for you. There's so much research supporting it. All the things that your doctor has kind of told you to avoid. Don't let your knees go over your toes. Don't deadlift. Like, you'll see me rehab it. Every single person I rehab is doing those two movements. They're great. They're fantastic for you. And not only like does lifting heavy, it builds muscle. It increases the amount of calories you're burning on a daily basis, just as rest, which is something that I think a lot of people are missing that want to lose weight. But you're making yourself less likely to get hurt. We're not preventing injury. We can't do that, but you're making yourself less likely to get hurt. And when you inevitably do get hurt, you're going to heal much faster. That is one of the, I think, the hidden benefits of it. And it just makes life, like daily life tasks, simple, right? Like if you're deadlifting hundreds of pounds, picking up anything in your house is going to be easy. Right. So you're going to register, right? So, I have people that throw out their back putting a sock on, right? Like, and you're going to make that a lot less likely to happen. And it does happen. It's not that those people are doing anything wrong necessarily, but you're going to make it less likely to happen by lifting more weight.
One of the maxims that you always hear is don't lift with your back. I heard someone make the point like, well, your back is full of muscles. So is that incorrect? Like is like idea that like lifting with your back is something to be avoided at all costs, which is kind of what I think people think. Well, never lift with your back. Is that another example of like something that's not true? And actually, you want to work out the muscles in your back?
Absolutely. It's muscles and joints just like everything else. Like, yes, is it a place that has higher injury risk and maybe something else in the body? Sure. But if you're training it well and you are lifting well, and newsflash, every time you are lifting, you're using the muscles in your back. So you are lifting with your back. And like when I'm maxing out on a deadlift, do I want you to pull from your back? No, of course not. But it is working. And it is something where if you strengthen it more often, it is going to get hurt less. Yeah. So a lot of those things that kind of people are afraid of, I think deadlifting is the biggest one that gets a bad rap, are fantastic for you. And will help. Like every single person I have with back pain, we're deadlifting. Like, I don't care what you got going on. We're going to get there. And even if I call it something different because they don't like the word deadlift, like
it's very clever. Do you do that a lot? Like you disguise the name of it?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
So funny. That's interesting.
And there's a lot of exercises that are very similar that move things in the same way that people don't register as a deadlift, right? Like a kettlebell swing is a very, very similar movement to a deadlift. And so those people who are afraid of it, I'll have them swinging a kettlebell and I'll be like, okay, now take that kettlebell from where you are and put it on the ground. Okay, pick it back up for me. Oh, you just deadlifted. Like, you don't even realize it. So then they're like, oh, my back didn't explode. It's the same thing with knees, right? Everyone's like, oh, don't your knees go over your toes. Like, okay, sit down on the toilet. Don't let your knees go over your toes. See how it works.
That's so. Do you have a perspective on? So I didn't start lifting weights until I started CrossFit, which is until I was around 40. So I was kind of a little older before I even started lifting weights. So I'm about probably 50 to 100 pounds behind like the guys who are as fit as me in a deadlift. I'm behind because I haven't been lifting weights that long. What I'm driving towards is your opinion on going for like max lifts, like as you age. Because I've heard people say like, I might deadlift heavy, but I don't want to do like really maxes, or I don't want to go too heavy. Do you have a perspective on the usefulness of that in becoming healthier and stronger that maybe as a person ages?
Yeah. I think usefulness is maybe a little bit different than like the benefit. Like useful, are you ever going to pick up something that's 400 pounds in your real life? Probably not. Yeah. So like useful in that manner, maybe not. But I think for your confidence and being able to pick up heavy things and do hard things, the mental side of that, I think that is something that is not thought of when you're doing those things. Like going for something that's kind of scary and you really have to try hard for and achieving it or even failing it, like there's great lessons and there's great things that come from that. So I do think it's beneficial for you to be lifting heavy. Do we need to necessarily get a 1 rep max? Maybe not. Maybe we do a 3 rep max or a 5 rep max. We're still going to be doing something heavy and maybe not necessarily going to failure. But again, if you're training intelligently and you have somebody in your corner that's helping you program well, there's not a lot of risk in doing it. Like I can't say none, but if you're doing things well, you shouldn't really be getting hurt. And honestly, like listening to your body is a big part of that. And that's part of what I want to talk to you about too, like resting for people who can't rest or feel like, if I stop for a week, I'm going to lose all my progress. Like
that is me. That is me. I'm like, I didn't work out today. I basically have never worked out ever.
Yeah. Yes. So that's big. And I think especially in the CrossFit and the running community, like those are probably the two that I see the most of, like that mental side of, like even on the days you don't feel like it, I still got to go push it and give my 100% and all these things. And like, if I go on vacation and don't work out, I'm going to lose my progress.
That's it.
Nothing could be further from the truth, right? Like just as hard as it is to make progress, it's just as hard to lose it, right?
That's such a powerful, important thing to say.
Yeah, it's a really important mindset. And I think that a lot of people who are former athletes have this like in their brain too, where it's like, I need to be pushing myself at all times. Like even on the days you don't feel like it and it's not feeling like moving, like I need to be going and giving it my all. And while that is a super important thing that I think most people are lacking, we also need to pull back the reins on that a little bit for maybe like the 5% of people that are on that side of things, where on those days where your body is trying to tell you like, I don't have it today, that is okay. Like that's probably your body trying to communicate something. It doesn't have to be your muscles and joints. Like your central nervous system is just as important here. And people pay attention to it, but that's kind of like, I always make a joke. I'm like, oh, the weights are moving crispy today. That's like when I'm feeling good, like those weights feel like they're just easy to move. But on those days where like you're warming up and that squat feels heavy.
Yeah.
Those are the days where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to, like, even as the workout says, I'm going to be doing 80% for 5 of 5, right?
Yeah.
Like on that day, maybe I'll do 60%. Maybe I'll do 3 sets. Like I'm just going to do something and I can still stay active and move without like crushing myself. And again, in like the Metcons, get my heart rate up to 180. Like I don't need that every single day. Like most people are doing that too often. And I think that it's important to pull back from that red line. And that's important too for your variability and like what we're trying to achieve by fitness, right? Like if you're doing that 5 days a week, you're gonna burn out and you're gonna increase your injury risk as well. And you're not gonna see the progress you're thinking that you're earning by doing that because your body can't recover, right?
Yeah.
And then we see all these people on social media that are posting their workouts and like grinding and like, but they don't post the days that they're doing easy stuff.
But we see all the people posting their hard workouts every single day.
Yeah. And we're like, I got to do that. And then you also have to think those people who are like doing this professionally are dialed in on their nutrition. They're dialed in on their sleep. They're doing everything right. And they are taking easy days. They're deloading properly. Like that's another thing that we don't do well enough. Like, and a deload doesn't mean that you have to be inactive. It just means that you're not crushing yourself. Like those are your 60% workout days. Like I'm still going to the gym those weeks. I'm just like, it's hard for me to turn off that switch, but I'm going to be like, I literally am not going to look at the clock. I'm just going to move. If I'm tired, I'm going to literally stand there and wait until I feel better and good.
I wonder if the leaderboard aspect of CrossFit sort of makes it a little bit challenging for us to do that. Cause I know, look, I'm shallow. I want to be at the top of the leaderboard or as high as I can, as close to you strong, fit people as I can get. And so I think that's what drives the intensity of CrossFit that makes it so wonderful. I think might make it a little bit difficult to arrive at that. Okay, maybe I'm just going to chill out today.
It absolutely does. And that it's a good thing, right? But it can't be the ultimate thing. We need to like have some kind of filter and just like detach from that sometimes.
Yeah.
And even if it sucks, you got to scroll down on the leaderboard and see yourself like, you'll be amazed if you will do this, like, and truly deload a week or like have a week where you go on vacation and just go for walks. When you come back to the gym the next week, you're going to crush it. Like people underestimate that. And I found that, and I was surprised, like on those weeks where I take it easy and I come back and those are the weeks I'm hitting PRs and I'm doing things.
That's interesting.
It's moving today.
Yeah.
Because you've had that chance to recover and your central nervous system is not crushed, and there's a lot of wearables now. You can get your Whoop or your Oura ring to see what your heart rate or your heart rate variability is, which is huge. That's literally your central nervous system telling you like how things are going. Yeah. And they're pretty inaccurate. So I think those are huge. Those are great things that people can be doing that maybe don't know what to say. Like as far as listening to your body, there's literally data that can tell you like, okay, today maybe needs to be a day where you chill out. And it doesn't mean you can't, like if you need to go hard that day, that's one of the days where you suck it up and do it. That shouldn't be all the time.
You mentioned nutrition a little bit. Does that factor in very prominently in the physical therapy regime?
Definitely. I think that there are some people who it's almost like your athlete population we were talking about earlier that like care and want that information. And there's some people that it's not going to change. So that's one of the things that I think is difficult for us because it's definitely not our area of expertise. So I try not to like encroach on it, but like I know my basic stuff, right? And particularly things like bone stress injuries, a lot of people who are going through that maybe don't have their nutrition dialed in and like their carbs dialed in because let's say like a runner like doesn't want to eat the carbs because they want to stay slim and other
Right.
but like your bones are feeding off of carbs. So you think that you're doing a really great diet with all your protein and stuff, but you're not getting an essential nutrient for your bones to recover after workouts.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'll ask general questions about those things, how many calories you get and what are your macros, if those people are tracking it. Some people are like, I don't know, I eat whatever. But like alcohol intake really matters, how much sugar intake you're getting really matters. Those things all inflame your body and your joints. And like typically, we can overcome that. This is what I always tell my patients. Your body is so good at healing yourself if you give it the right stimulus, which is what physical therapists are trying to do, right? We are trying to create a small amount of like damage, right? Or inflammation in an area to trigger your body to say, hey, we need to go fix that. And that's what dry needling does too, right? It's a similar thing where we're trying to almost trick your body into thinking there's a little injury going on. It heals itself.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing when we're working out, right? You do bicep curls to tear your biceps so your bicep gets stronger. And
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
And nutrition plays a role in that. So making sure that I think CrossFit's done a really good job of trying to give some education there to people who are looking for it and making sure that you're eating within 30 minutes of a workout. Like I struggle with that because I'm like, I get home after working out, I'm like, oh, the last thing I want to do is eat, right? But like knowing that I need to at least get something in my system and you can feel it the next day. Really, truly.
Yeah. Are you, if you don't mind, do you have a particular eating regime or do you do any supplementation or things like that or like pay attention to macros personally?
I don't. I know that I hit protein macros and calorie macros like without trying. I love eating. So, and I eat generally healthy, but I'm also a snacker, right? Like I'm eating sweets and doing all these things. My wife's an excellent baker. So like,
oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, you're telling me. So like stuff like that. I used to be pretty strict with it, but now I've gotten to a point in my life where I work out to be healthy and to be able to eat kind of what I want rather than being like, I'm trying to be like dialed in.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's another thing where it's important. Like I get a lot of sleep, like those things I pay attention to. And I'm doing a lot of things on the other sides that are trying to kind of like keep a balance there and then listening to my body when it's telling me like, chill out today. Like usually it's when I've had a big weekend or eating some sweets, that kind of deal. The simplest thing I think for people generally is to get at least 1.5 times your body weight in protein.
In grams of protein?
Exactly. Yep. And then taking creatine. That's what people need to be doing. And it is one of the best things that you can put in your body. There are no negative side effects. It's great for you. People think that it makes you look bloated. That has been debunked. It's not a thing. It puts water into your cells. And so what that does is it allows this process. Basically, your cells use ATP for energy production. It helps that. So it literally will make a huge difference in people's lives. So they'll use it. There's also a lot of research coming out with it helping cognitive function, neural pathways.
Right. Yeah.
Super important. And then concussion has actually been a big thing where people are heavy doses of creatine immediately following a concussion and they're getting out of it a lot faster.
Heavy, so normal is like a 5 gram per day. What would a heavy?
40 grams.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It'd be a bitter smoothie.
Yeah.
You said something really interesting a while ago that I wanted to hear you talk about people icing when they get injury and that maybe that's not exactly the best thing to do. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So the rice method is pretty outdated anymore. There are times when ice is appropriate. So something like after a surgery where like the quicker we can move swelling out of that area, the better things are going to work because there is something that's called reciprocal inhibition, which is your brain basically not allowing muscles to fire in areas where there is damage. So let's say like after an ACL surgery and your knee's all puffy, like your quad literally cannot fire as well because of the swelling that is present.
And that's a good thing. The body wants that to happen.
Exactly. Like swelling is part of the rehab process. So this gets into ice and anti-inflammatories, right? So if you are icing or you are taking an anti-inflammatory after an injury, you're causing a traffic jam of what needs to happen in your body, right? Like we're trying to send swelling because swelling, the things that are in swelling are helping with the healing process, right? Like it's not just fluid. There's cells, there's different things that are going to the area that are important for healing. The important part then is we then get the swelling out of there. And the best thing to do for that is movement. Just keeping things moving makes a remarkable difference. And that's very counterintuitive to everyone who's ever gotten hurt or thrown their back out or tweaked their knee. They go lay down on the couch. And what happens when you get up? You feel terrible. If you go and move when you do those things, you're still going to feel terrible, but not as terrible. And you're going to heal faster. We're trying to encourage the body to speed the process up, not slow it down by taking an anti-inflammatory or icing. You know, like if you have a catastrophic injury or something like that, like I'm not telling you don't put ice on it. And really, like I'll tell people, if things are interfering with sleep, that's when I tell them, okay, anti-inflammatory or an ice pack. Like if it's helping you get to sleep, go for it. That's when your body's healing. And I think so many people don't get enough quality sleep, and that's why we have a lot of problems.
When we do CrossFit, when you do any activity, there's going to be pain. But at some point, that pain gets too much and it's evidence that there's something underlying that needs treatment. How do you recommend that those of us who are out being active think about our pain levels and when it might be evidence that we need to sort of come into the shop and get an exam?
I think it's important to realize that pain does not always equal damage. So that's a big thing. Like a lot of times when I have people do exercises, they hurt. And I want it to hurt. Like I'm specifically trying to target and again, like cause a small amount of damage to those tissues.
Right.
So there should be like the next day, especially after PT, like I want you to know that you had PT yesterday.
Right.
Do I want you to be miserable, limping around your house? No. But I want you to be like a little bit sore. And with, as long as we're staying with like a 48-hour window of being sore, you know, maybe a 4 out of 10 intensity, like those things are kind of what I'm going for with PT. Yeah. As far as in our daily workouts and like what we're trying to kind of alter or what we're trying to decide, like when is this something I should not do? I think when form is changing is a big one. When there's something where you feel like you cannot complete the movement as desired with proper form. And so we either need to change the range of motion. So like maybe like not squatting as deep, for example, like doing a quarter squat rather than a full squat is a good way to modify that. Or we can change the weight. Obviously that's an easy one. And then if it's still something that's bugging you, I would say for more than a week long consistently, or is more than like a 6 out of 10 pain. It's kind of like where I'm drawing the line. And sometimes I'm even with my own training, I'm more delicate than that because in my line of work, like I can't afford to have time off for injury, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I get hurt and I blow out a knee or something, like I'm in trouble.
Right.
Because I have to go be treating patients, right? So I am thinking about this more as longevity and the marathon of it and something that I enjoy doing for my mental health, the social aspect of it. More than, you know, trying to crush it every day. And like I told you, I mean, I think you're one of the people in the gym that definitely have that mindset of like, I got to get after it every day, which is great. Like, you're seeing fantastic results from that. Like from not doing CrossFit to being where you are now as well as the top in the gym is like in what, like a year is insane.
No,
like,
thank you.
That's awesome.
I'm making up for lost time.
Yeah. And I think that like, that's important because you're seeing the fruits of your labor, right? But then now you're kind of like that person I was talking about earlier where like a little like getting into something is going to go a long way. Now your body is tuned to that, right? So I'm sure you'll see if you haven't already that the progress instead of going is now maybe going.
Tell me about it, dude. That's like from the hours of like 5 p.m. to like I go to bed. I'm like, well, why is this last little bit of belly fat just still like, who invited you here? You're supposed to be out of here. So it is not.
Yeah. And I would think you would see if you kind of adopted that mindset of not burning it every single day and like wearing yourself out. Because this is the other thing, like thinking about this from like a primal example, your body is going to hang on to the things that it thinks it needs to survive. Right. So if your body knows that you are getting after it every single day and crushing yourself in the gym, it's not going to burn through the extra things that can give it energy. Right. It's gonna be like, oh, I need this. I need to hang on to this stubborn little belly fat, or I need to do like hang on to these things and not adapt maybe the way that you're wanting it. And you're feeling like you're earning in the gym. That's your body trying to tell you like, hey, pay attention. Like there's something here that needs to change. And like having different types of stimulus is going to be really important for that. And also like lifting heavy is great for that specifically. We kind of talked about like why, like raising your basal metabolic rate, your diet's going to be really important for that. But also like hanging out in zone 2 cardio is fantastic for burning fat. It doesn't have to be
that's zone 2 cardio. I'm not good at the zone stuff. That's like going on a 5-mile ride or something.
So zone 2, so we're talking about heart rate. So zone 2, I don't know the exact numbers. So we'll there's 5 zones, right? One would be like your basic heart rate at rest. Like now, zone 2 would be at a good example or a good way to know you're here. I would say it's like between the 110, maybe getting up to like maybe touching 140, but for most people, probably 130. If you were going on a run and you could have a conversation like we're having right now.
I see.
You're not huffing and puffing. It's
Right.
like, I could do this all day, that kind of deal.
Yes.
So hanging out in zone 2, getting into zone 3, I would say is probably like your 140 to 155-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then zone 4 and 5 is when like we're not talking.
Right?
Right? Like we're probably on the ground afterwards. So hanging out there, there's a methodology and that's called the 80-20 split. 80% of your time you should be in zone 2 versus 20% of the time you should be in zones 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like people see really big fitness gains. It's
Is that
counterintuitive.
compatible with like regularly CrossFitting?
I would say so. And some of this is taking into account like when we're doing our weightlifting for that 15 minutes and our warm up, like you're probably in zone 2 and right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're moving, your heart rate's elevated, but you're not dying. Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like we're getting that zone 2, which is kind of what I love about it is like, and then, 10 minutes we're in zone 4 or 5, going balls to the wall. So yeah, we're getting a lot of that already, just kind of without realizing it.
Yeah.
But I think more of it is realizing like we don't need that zone 5, maybe more than like twice a week, honestly.
Wow.
And I think we're really bad about doing that.
You heard it here, folks. David, if people want to come find you so they can take their recovery and their athletics seriously, what's the best way for them to find you?
Well, you can go to theathletehousept.com. You go on there, you can read a little bit about us. And then what we do with everybody is we do a consult call because there are people that will, try to come see us. I'm like, you're going to want to go to traditional PT first. You don't want to pay for me to have you sit on the table and do basic exercises. So I'll recommend that they do that and then come back to us when they're ready for the more advanced things. And then if we decide we're the right fit for one another, we will then bring everybody in. We do a full body evaluation. So we put people through this benchmark that was designed by really smart people at a company called Exos that works with the highest level athletes in military special ops. We use that model to determine movement benchmarks, and we're pretty daggone good at being able to evaluate, what the root cause is, but also identify things that are going on that people may not even be aware of that are hanging out and like kind of lurking that can become problems. So we try to not only address what's going on, we try to bulletproof you as much as possible in order to get you ready to go out and stay healthy. Because that's our goal, is to keep active people active. I think we have a really big issue with them in America, particularly with very preventable diseases that can be prevented by just working out. Lifting heavy weights. That's the biggest thing. Everybody should do it.
David, what an hour. What a blast. Thank you so much for your time.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.